Okay, so we're on the Isle of Skye at Sligachan with this wonderful view in front of us. Behind us we have a famous old bridge at Sligachan, which is usually the subject of artists and photographers, but it's been really difficult to get a good composition. We end up, just with the bridge, just too much in our faces. So I've turned our back on that, and instead we're going to do this wonderful view in front of us. It's a great composition because we've got the river winding like an S shape in front of us, leading the eye through to these wonderful mountains behind. And we're going to do a pure pastel picture today using the incredible Unison pastels. So the river is going to be the main focal point in this painting. So I'm just going to map that out very quickly. And this is a piece of sanded paper called SAIT, S-A-I-T, P500. So the sanded paper holds the pastel really, really well. It's got wonderful tooth. I'd highly recommend that if you're looking to do serious pastel painting, to seek to get one of the sanded papers. There's lots out there. Just experiment. So just looking to just quickly find the location of the various features, these hills behind. Oh, and the light is coming out for us, which is wonderful. It's the afternoon here, so we're getting the late afternoon light. I'm going to use a blue to indicate the rocks initially, and we'll make something of that blue colour later on in the painting, I'm sure. Let's go with this. Just getting the general shape of the mountains, using the pastel on their side to get colour down. And then we'll see at the moment the mountains in the background are in deep shadow. That might change, but I'm going to use a really dark purple, almost indigo, to indicate this one. So I'm going to just quickly block in the sky. So it's lovely and bright up here, and then turns to a deep purple blue for the threatening clouds. Hopefully not too threatening for us. Gone with a purple, back in with a light, and the mixture of the light against the purple will turn it to a nice kind of mid-grey, but because it's purple there will be a little bit of warmth in it as well. I'm letting the pastel move around the sky to make it move so that it creates interest. And I'm also blending at the same time by working the pastel over each colour rather than using my fingers. Back in again with the purple. There's a little bit of blue in there as well, which is nice, just to give a little bit of hint. Just scumbling the pastels, just dragging it very lightly across the paper to give a hint of blueness in the sky. So that was really quick, but it gives me an idea of what I want to work on with the sky. I can move on now to work on the landscape itself. Good. So the mountains behind are in deep shadow. I think I just need to brighten the sky up just a touch, make it a grey in the background so that it sets off the mountains against it. And we can actually drag the pastel over the mountains to see the clouds misting over the tops of the peaks. Coming back with the dark pastel now. Try and get the feature of the peaks. And just by chance, I've got this little bit of pastel on the mountain here, but it's really nice. Give a hint of light falling on the mountain. I'm just going to leave that for the moment and see where I get to. So the next stage of the next mountain down, as it were, it's a muted green really. So I'm going to come over this this sand colour with this muted green, and there's also yellows and oranges in there. Just indicating some red. Remember, of course, red is a complementary of green, so that's going to work really, really well against this element of the mountain. Coming back so we have a hard edge to separate the mountain behind from this one in front, but they do work one into the other. So I'm keeping the pastels that I'm using in a box in front of me so that I don't lose the pastels that I'm using. I don't have to look back down into the box to try and find them. So you'll see that I'm basically just working my way down through the picture. But because I'm keeping the pastels in the box in front of me, I'll keep going back to them so that I find other places in the whole picture to use the same colours, and that pulls the painting together. But you'll notice that I'm being very quick with the strokes on their side, going both light and dark in terms of pressure. So a light pressure to scumble the pastel over the underlying colour to let it shine through or show through, and also harder, darker where I want to accentuate the darks. So around this kind of area here. Again, give indications of light using this light pastel. Little hints on the mountains, but we can come back to that. So on to the next layer. So I'm going a little bit more orange just to add interest. So remember the principles of colour recession. So the further back we go, the darker it is, purples and blues. And as we get nearer to the foreground, the colours become brighter. They can sing against this wonderful, wonderful paper. Just mapping out the general location for this colour. Goes all the way across, down here as well. And then knock it back a bit with this muted green, so it's not too in our face. Using the black of the paper as well, of course, so there are hints of blackness being left as I scumble the pastel across the paper. And that's really helpful, particularly in a scene like this, which is full of atmosphere and mood. Just using this blue pastel again to get the areas of rock formation, and we'll then go back over that with different colours. But I'm just letting the rocks really mix into the landscape as they do in reality. Just coming back in that midground hill with a bit more of the muted green, just to section it off a little bit from the foliage in front, and just to throw it back by just marking over the hill and trying to soften the marks a little bit. that throws it back. So for anyone that doesn't work plein air outside, please have a go. I'd highly recommend it. It's what makes painting such good fun. Just find a friend, think of a location, think of somewhere where perhaps there can be something behind us, like we've got this wonderful bridge behind us. So it makes it difficult for people to look at what you're doing if that's an issue for you. But genuinely, I've always found everybody to be really, really supportive, and people love seeing what you're doing and are generally in awe of the very fact that you can draw at all. So give it a go. Just beginning to indicate one or two of the rocks, the edges where the light is catching. But we'll come back to that. So let's try and get some of the water in. So there's nice, almost falls of water. So I'm going to make something of that with this white. And then down here it's very, very in full sun. It's a beautiful view. Just a hint of water behind there. Let's make sure that people know that it's water by just putting in a little bits of blue and some darker blue purples. So we can begin to hint at some of the rocks in the water as well. Let's go back to a dark blue. Especially these rocks right in front of us that are in deep shadow. They'll set off nicely against the white of the water. So I'm just going to spray this very quickly so that to create some more tooth, particularly in the water, so that I can indicate the rocks over the white. Going to darken these mountains behind just by quick spray, and the cloud. See how that darkens things? Makes it really dramatic. Now we can go back to working on these rocks in deep shadow, so like nice darks against that sand colour. Here. I'm not drawing every individual rock, but I'm making sure that I draw rock shapes so that the viewer will know what we're looking at. So we'll take this dark purple into the left-hand area of the painting. This is lovely darks in there at the moment. Right, so I'm just going to work a little bit more now on the vegetation here. Now that I've got some rocks in, we can work around them. Getting quite windy. All part of the fun. Hanging on to the easel. Some reds in amongst here, so again that's helpful. The red against the green. Heathers and hints of light touching the tops. So the shoreline over here is quite a bright, pebbly colour with lots of rocks, lots of smaller rocks creeping into the water. So just try and indicate that. That sets things off nicely against the mustard yellow in the background. So I'm at a stage now where I've got everything kind of blocked in, so I can play around now at some of the detail in the background, little specks of highlight. This is just a fun bit of a painting like this. There's no right nor wrong. You know, we generally work dark to light, but with pastel, the beauty of it is that, you know, you can break those rules and just build it up stage by stage, layer by layer. There's little hints of the green now in that big mountain behind. Danger of drawing a different picture now that the light is changing, but I think that's okay. Just come back a little bit back in with purple. And again here. Little hints of light and colour, a bit more red. In any landscape painting with a fair amount of green in it, I'm always looking to try and introduce some element of red or russet to help the picture, just to lift the picture really. Particularly in a summer landscape with lots and lots of green, put in some flecks of red here and there. Not too much, but just enough to let the eye notice and lift the painting. So the rocks work their way behind this area here, so I'd like to indicate that if I can, starting off with a blue, and then bringing the lighter colours in. There always comes a point, no matter how expressive you want to be, where you have to just take your time to get the drawing correct. And I do find that rocks are something that you just need to take a little bit of time over to get right. And a little bit more of that in the foreground, just to brighten things up. And we've got grasses as well to better define in the foreground, in between the rocks. But that's something to work on nearer the end of the painting. So I think for the moment, I'm going to leave this now, because the light has changed quite a bit. And hopefully we'll be able to come back tomorrow and finish this one off. If not, it will be completed in the studio. But let's hope that the weather is kind to us. So we did come back to Sligachan the following day, but to be honest, there's so many amazing views there that we ended up painting a different picture. There's another video of that you can catch somewhere else. We didn't get round to finishing off this particular picture, so we brought it back to the studio in Yorkshire. It's not going to take long, I don't think, to complete this, and I certainly don't want to lose the vibrancy and expressiveness that was obtained by standing in front of the view. I've got my iPad here with an image of the view, not quite where we were standing, but it's near enough. It's just for a reference. And just looking at what we've got, I think I'm going to work on the sky to sort of enhance the brightness of the sky here, and just generally, so far as the landscape is concerned, it's going to be about finding lights against darks to just bring impact to the image. So let's start. Let's look we'll start top down and see where we get to. With the sky, I'm just going to bring a little bit of brightness into this side of the sky, just to balance up this lovely area over here, and just soften the darkness really in that major cloud. But I am liking the marks that were made on site, particularly these sort of areas here where the light of the cloud's just catching the mountain. So I don't want to do too much to that. I'm going to take a light blue-grey, and it's a mixture of greys and blues and purples. I don't want to go too purple, something in keeping with the darkness. And you see this lovely dark against light area here. That's something to really enhance. So I'm just going to accentuate the brightness here. I have fixed this picture since I brought it home. That's just deepened the darks, and it's also created some more tooth for this pastel to sit on top of. So that's why I'm getting this sort of vibrancy of the brightness sitting on the sanded paper. It's interesting, it takes me back really to Skye, just working on this, because I can see areas of where there's, you know, rain spatters, where it was just beginning to, the weather was just turning as we're finishing up. So again, just going a little bit darker against, I'm always looking for this dark against light. That's where we get beautiful impact. I'm dragging the pastel across, this dark pastel across the light, working back and forth, taking the light back then across the dark. Again, as I say, this is how I create a depth to the painting, and that's my method of blending. It's working one pastel over the other. I'm just going to bring a touch of yellow into the sky, just because it was later on in the day as we finished, and just a little bit of interest. So really what I'm doing is I'm accentuating what was done on site. I'm just building up a little bit more, because remember, we were only there for a relatively short time. As I say, I don't want to lose the expressiveness of what was there, what was done on site, but it just needed a little bit more time just to complete the depth of the painting really. And there's an area of kind of reddish brown in this area that I'm seeing, almost purple but not quite. I'm going to use, this is red 16 pastel. You're going to take the wrapper off. Make sure you take wrappers off pastels so you can use them on the side. Yeah, that's a nice colour. Remember, I don't always get the colour correct first time. I very often just pick up pastels almost randomly and make marks just to see what it looks like. And if it doesn't work, then I'll pick up another pastel and work on top of that. And in a sense, that sort of, again, creates this depth of, you know, extra colour. It does mean, though, that I'm applying quite a few layers to the paper. So again, you need a good quality paper, and be prepared to fix every now and again to create more tooth during the painting process rather than at the end, because of course, as we all know, fixing will darken the painting. Right, so having done that, let's look at this middle ridge now and just zing it up a little bit, again looking for darks against light. So I'm going to find something a little bit more yellow, mixed with some lighter oranges. And we get near the rocks, it becomes darker again. So again, we use that to really set off against that nice lightness on the top. It's always worth thinking about, you know, having that separation of dark, mid, and then light at the front in very simple terms. So we'll work on the rocks a little bit more now, and they were really, there was a lot of pink I found on the tops of the rocks, pink and light blue. Trouble is, if you use light blue, it makes it look like water, so we just need to make sure that we do differentiate between rocks and river, and we'll do that just by outlining some of the rocks in dark. Make a little bit more of the pinks. So I'm just going to do some broad strokes, not at this point trying to define rocks, it's really just shoreline. It was just the way the light was, it was brightening up these areas of rock. It's really, really nice. I think that's better, but it's definitely using what was done on the day as my reference point. And it is bringing back to me the memory of the day and the way these rocks were almost glowing under that sky. Foreboding as it was the brightness that was coming through the clouds that was just making this just such a wonderful scene. It's always worthwhile when you pick up a pastel just to think about other areas, as I say, that we can use it just to link the painting together to find that synergy. And as I say, on that day and throughout our time in Skye, the whole island was pretty much orange and red, so it definitely does give a feel for what we were seeing when we were there. So we're almost done with this one, I think. We're down to just accentuating areas. I'm just going to accentuate some darks again against these ridges, just to make something a little bit more of the brightness and into the rear areas. And also a little bit more of the water, just to lift things up. And even in the landscape behind, just this light from the sky is just going to find little areas, little hints of brightness. I think that's really lifted the painting that we did on the day at Sligachan, without losing, I think, the vibrancy of the strokes that were made because we're working so quickly on the day in Skye. So it's just accentuated what we did on the day without overworking, and I think that's turned out to be really a nice scene that really captures the mood of the day. So thank you very much for watching, and look forward to seeing you on the next one.